One of the things that successful people do, they emulate others. You know, I have two very diverse heroes. One was Reginald F. Lewis. Reginald F. Lewis was the first African-American billionaire, okay? What he did, he had a plan, okay? And he executed his plan. He went to Harvard for one reason and one reason only, to study under Lewis Loss. Lewis Loss was an expert on leveraged buyouts. And what Reginald Lewis did, he performed the largest, the most successful leveraged buyout in American history, okay, when he took over Beecher's Foods. Lewis Loss was his teacher. That's the only reason he came to Harvard. But Reginald Lewis, he's the only African-American with a building named after him at Harvard University, okay? My next hero, I'll tell you about him. He had a 10th grade education. He never set foot on a college campus until he took one of his children to college. He started a small business, okay? But at his death, the Speaker of the House read a resolution about his life, wealth, and achievement. That other hero with 10th grade education was my father. I look out in this audience, it's not a matter of if you're going to be successful, it's a matter of when you're going to be successful, okay? There's a millionaire sitting in this audience that we don't know which one. I can't tell you who you're going to be. I'm going to tell you when, but I can tell you there is one, there are two, there are three, but are you going to make up the decision to be one? Do you know the first assignment at Harvard Business School? Can anybody tell me? The first assignment at Harvard Business School is to write your own obituary. But you need to write it as if it's going to appear in the Wall Street Journal and New York Times. And why? Only successful and achieving people appear in the Wall Street Journal and New York Times. You're going to have 50,000 choices every day. 50,000 that you can or cannot make. Whether you comb your hair, take a shower, bath, what you're going to eat, what you're going to drive, whether you go to class today or not, what you're going to watch on TV. You have 50,000 choices every day. But there's two that you have to make. There's two you have to make. Accept things that they are, or take the courage to change them. So who today has the courage to change everything in their life? There's 10 forms of wealth. Money's not the first. Money's not second. No money is even third. The number one form of wealth is knowledge and an idea. Look at Microsoft, Google, eBay. The number one form of wealth is idea. The number two form of wealth is a relationship. As I told a class on yesterday, every Ford automobile has a Firestone tire. Every Ford automobile has a Firestone tire. Why? Henry Ford and Harvey Firestone were best friends. Relationships. I'll tell you about another relationship. There was a young congressman from Texas who became friends with the owner of a small pipe company, Brown and Root. This young man from Texas, he became a senator, he was a congressman, he became a senator, then he became president of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson. As he ascended to the presidency, this small company grew. At last count, this was the highest billing company in the world, Halliburton. Halliburton grew because of Lyndon Baines Johnson, relationships. Successful people, they don't learn for a period of their life. They learn all their lives, okay? The average millionaire reads 3 books a month, only watches less than 25 hours of TV, while the other segment of America watches 70+ hours of TV and never reads a book after high school, okay? It's a noted fact. If you read 3 books a month for 5 years, you'll be a noted figure in your community. You read 5 books a month for 5 years, you'll be a noted figure in the nation. If you read 7 books a year for 5 years, you'll gain international acclaim. You know, most young men spend $500 a year on the outside of their heads, hair, shaves, whatever, and less than $50 a year on the inside of their heads. Most successful people refuse to accept failure. They absolutely refuse it. You know, when Thomas Edison, in his research to invent the light bulb, he failed 10,000 times. 10,000 times. But he never looked at it as 10,000 failures. He looked at it as 10,000 things that simply did not work. Kathy Hughes of TV One and Radio One, she was turned down 60 times for a bank loan. 60 times. There's a company in Houston, last year made over $140 million. The owners were turned down 27 times for a bank loan. Who has the courage, faith, and persistence to keep on going to banks and keep getting turned down? But that refused to fail resulted in a $140 million business. You have to believe in yourself when nobody else does. Even when you don't believe in yourself, you have to pretend that you do. You have to be stead to the task. What I see as a pebble in the road, the other person sees as a boulder, okay? Let me tell you about black millionaires. I can tell you everything about a black millionaire you can ask me. If you want to be an engineer, you study engineering. If you want to be a teacher, you study education. But if you want to be a millionaire, you study millionaires and successful people. African-American millionaires, females grade point 3.2, males 2.9. SATs, women's are probably about 1,200. The men barely broke 1,000. They drive a Lexus, Mercedes, Lexus. The women, they wear high-end clothes. The men wear off the rack. Most of them went to business school. Most of them, about 50 to 60% of them went to HBCUs, okay? But there's one continuous fact between all African-American millionaires. There's one common denominator. At 30 years old, all of them made $100,000, okay? At 30 years old, all of them made $100,000. Do you know that an immigrant to this country has a 17 times greater opportunity to becoming a millionaire than you and I? They have a 17 times greater chance to become a millionaire than you and I. And you know why? You want to know why? When we see obstacles and problems, they see opportunity. What we throw away, they keep. We see problems and issues. They see nothing but opportunity. Okay? America is a capitalist economy, okay? Capitalism is not a bad thing. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Do you know what entrepreneur means? Entrepreneur is a French word. It means risk taker. Who's willing to take the risk and become successful? Most successful people get to a point when they're doing something, they're working on a project, time passes by, the difficult becomes easy, the hard becomes simple. It's called working in flow. Working in flow is when you work hours and hours at a project and it doesn't even bother you. What used to be so hard for you to do, now it comes easy. What you couldn't do before, now you can accomplish it. When you know your area of excellence, you will begin working in flow. You'll start out it'll be 5 o'clock in the morning and you won't even know it. What you couldn't do on the computer, now you do it with ease, okay? You'll be working in flow once you find your area of excellence. And do you know when you'll find it? You ask yourself, what can I do better than others? Okay? What do I do that's easy for me to do? What do I like doing? What am I passionate about? And third, what would I do for free? Since December of 1998, I've never worked a day in my life. I go to the office, I work on projects. Sometimes I'm there 7 days a week. Sometimes I put in 100 hours, but it's not work. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not work. I love what I do. So when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. You'll never work a day in your life. You might make a lot of money. Okay? Wealth. Wealth is a consciousness, okay? It's a consciousness. It's a lifestyle. It's a thought process. You always read about lottery winners going broke, correct? Athletes going broke a year after they retired. They never developed a wealth consciousness, okay? It's not how much you make to be wealthy. It's how much you keep, okay? It's how much you save. It's not about a W-2. It's about a 1099, okay? There's a certain segment of society, and I don't want to call them the lower class, but there's a certain segment of society that their scorecard of wealth is cars and clothes, okay? The middle class society, their scorecard is degrees and titles, okay? But the wealthy, their scorecard is bank accounts, okay? In your life, during your life, there's only two things you have control over. You don't have control over if you're going to get the contract or not. You don't have control over if you're going to get the loan. There's two things you have control over: your work ethic and your attitude, okay? Those are two things you have absolute control over. Nothing else. You don't know if you're going to get the deal. You don't know if you're going to get the loan. You don't know if the project is going to work. You don't know if they're going to sign off on it. Those are things you do not know. But your work ethic and your attitude are the two primary things you have absolute control over every day of your life. I'll give you a story. I always tell students this whenever I speak. 3 to 4 years ago, I was working on a contract with the government, and I went to meet with the government officials to try to secure this contract. This contract would change my family's life. Okay? This contract would change every member of my family's life from now to the end of time. Now, I went in to meet with the young lady, and we sat down, and I was trying to ask her assistance how to work my way through this monumental stack of paper, about this thick, okay? And she went on to tell me that I would never get this contract. And as she said this to me, you know, faith, persistence, courage, you know, zig when others zag, I began to look around the room. It was just me and her in the room. I asked her, would she please repeat herself? And she went on to tell me again, Mr. Kemp, you'll never get this contract. I proceeded to stand and look around the room again. And she asked me, sir, what are you looking for? And I told her I'm trying to figure out who she's talking to because she can't be talking to me. This contract changed my family's life, upwards to $10 million. You get $10 million and see want to change your family's life, okay? A famous man once said, in one hand, I have an opportunity. In one hand, I have an obstacle. Young people, which one do you choose? Okay. Every single day of your life, you have to work to be better. Learn one word, help your neighbor, learn something you never did before, overcome an obstacle, study a little harder, but every day of your life, work to be better in some area, okay? I'm going to tell you a true story, and I'll throw this out to you. Who will be the 100th monkey? In the early 50s, off the coast of Japan, there was an island called Fukushima, and it was inhabited by hundreds of monkeys, okay? And what the scientists found out in studying them, that they loved sweet potatoes. So on an ongoing basis, a plane would fly by and drop tons of sweet potatoes on the beach. And what the monkeys would do, they would grab them and eat them. Because they were kind of sandy, they were a little gritty. So inexplicably one day, years into this study, a female monkey, okay, women are smarter than men, they say, the female monkey grabbed a sweet potato and walked to the water and washed it off and ate it. Over time, 2 to 3 years, other monkeys continued to eat the potatoes, but they started washing theirs off too, okay? 3 to 4 years into the study in this project, inexplicably, with no rhyme or reason, with no reason that could explain it, at the 100th monkey, every monkey on that island began to wash their sweet potatoes and eat them at the same time. But that's not the crazy thing. The most fascinating thing is an island 3 to 4 hours away, separated by space and time, every monkey on that island took their sweet potato and took them to the water, washed them, and began to eat them at the same time. What I ask you today, which one of you are going to be the 100th monkey that changes social justice, that finds a cure for cancer, okay, who runs and changes the political landscape? Which one of you will be the 100th monkey? Thank you.